Today we're working on Big Twist. We're using this slime color. It's pretty fun and vibrant. It's a color that brings joy. But we're going to create a neck warmer slash ear warmer slash headband. So before we go in with the color directly, we're going to go in with waste yarn. I'm using a real contrasting color so that I'm able to see the stitches really well. And we're going to do the cast on. So when I do the cast on, I start with a little bit of tail inside, not too much because we don't really need the tail for anything other than grabbing it to take it off the project. So I'm going to crank this handle over here around forward like this motion. And as I do that, it's going to spin the red wheel on the inside of the machine. And as each needle or pin comes around, it pops up. So I'm able to wrap my yarn around it in order to create a foundation chain or a foundation stitch. So I'm slowly cranking it, slowly weaving it through the pins as we add our foundation chain. So after I make it all the way around, I put it into this feeder and close it back up. So now I can crank because all of the pins have caught the yarn. So this is going to be just about 5 or 6 rows. Alright, so that's good enough. The rest of the tail I'm going to drop inside and it wraps around the very first pin, the very last pin that it's going to knit. And now we can add our main color. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of a tail on this side, extra tail. Holding both pieces at the same time, I'm going to start cranking so that it can grab the first stitch of this main color here. Now I'm going to reset my counter back to 0 because on this we're going to add 96 rows. Just giving myself a little bit more slack on the color. Such a bright, vibrant color. So we do have 10 rows knitted. I'm going to bring out my helper so that we can be more efficient with our completion. So we're all the way to row 70. I'm going to roll up my project to get it off of the table and go a few more rows. Awesome! We have completed 96 rows with the help of our helper with our drill. I'm just going to plug it back up so I don't lose that charge. And I'm going to go to the very end of the row, give myself a bit more tail, and cut off the end. And I don't want to forget the waste yarn for the other end, because this is a neck warmer. Once again, adding about 5 more rows. So now we have a end in sight and we can cast off. So I'm taking the waste yarn out of the feeder and I'm just dropping it inside. Now I'm going to continue to crank and the project is going to eventually fall off of the machine because there's no new yarn coming in. So now we can move the machine out of the way so we can put our ear warmer, headband, neck warmer together. No color changes in here, so we're able to simply stretch it, pull this in on this side. It comes out looking really flat and wide like this, but we just need to stretch it and the stitches fall into place beautifully, lengthwise and widthwise. So since this is an ear warmer, we have to close up the ends on both sides. And we're going to do that by doing slip stitches. So I just need to make sure that on my right side, on my left side, is where the tail is. And I'm just gonna flatten this out again. So the tail for the project is on my left. If you're watching this, it looks like you're right. I'm I'm going to fold it up together so I see the very last row from end to end. And then I'm going to go to my right side with my crochet hook. I'm using a 3.75 millimeter. I don't know if that's going to focus. Trust me, it's 3.75. And I'm using that to pick up the stitches. So I'm starting inside the first stitch, and we're going from top to bottom. So from the top, I'm going to insert my hook underneath that stitch and then slip it through the first one. So I'm going to insert my hook through the stitch on the bottom and slip it through the stitch on the hook. And I'm going to keep alternating underneath the top and slip it through the stitch on the hook, underneath the bottom and slip it through the stitch on the hook, underneath the top and slip it through the stitch on the hook, underneath the bottom and slip it through the stitch on the hook. We're just going to go through alternating stitches on top and bottom, picking them up and slip stitching them through the stitch that's currently on the hook, all the way to the other side. And do not pick up the waste yarn because that is not part of the project. Waste yarn is significant for its name because at the end of the project, we're just going to pull it off and throw it away from the project. I usually keep my waste yarn and reuse it. So while it's waste for this project, we recycle. We recycle the waste yarn from project to project. Then the last stitch, ooh, there's one hiding. The last stitch is the tail. Just gonna pull that all the way through and remove the waste yarn. Finish with one side. All of our stitches picked up. Now on to the other side. We're going to start the same way we did before. Underneath the first loop. If you start on the bottom row versus the top row, it's not an issue. The main thing is is that we pick up all the stitches fairly evenly. I mean, the end of this project is going to be cinched together, so it's not a huge issue if it's not even, but you want to flatten it out as evenly as possible so that you can have a straight edge. And if you line up the tail end of the project on the left-hand side and flatten it out that way, you're geared to have a straight project, a flat edge. That's evenly distributed. We are at the end. Make sure to pick up the tail. And pull it through. And now we can remove the waste yarn. This part of the waste yarn is from the cast on. It's the very first row, the foundation row. So this one takes a little bit of extra steps to remove in the very first row. I have to take it off all the way around, and then after that it gets started, and then I can just wind it off. Then it falls off a lot easier. This color makes me think about Dr. Seuss. And we're done with that end as well. So now we have all of our stitches on this side that are picked up and this side that are picked up. And we can flatten it out. And we have options. We can do so many different things with this. We can either fold it and have this way and then have our ends meet so that we have a folded neck warmer. Or we can have our ends meet this way, and we can cinch them together so that we have a twisted headband, cinched headband, I should say. Or we can do more of a W, so that would be even more, I guess I should do it this way, even more of an accordion fit to have it cinched that way. That's cool. That looks like a knot in the middle. Very cool. So for this one, I think what we're going to do is we're going to cinch it this way. Take the tail out. This by far has been my favorite. I'm going to cinch it together like this. So I'm going to take this tail, thread it on my darning needle, and weave it through all 4 layers. Awesome. So now that I'm at this end, I'm going to cut both ends down to a bit more manageable level, and I'm going to thread the darning needle again with both of them this time, so I can take both through at the same time. But first, I'm going to go underneath and back out. Pull both of these through at the same time, and then I can go back down through. Giving more security. All right, and so now that I'm at the end, I'm going to do a knot. And then I'm going to weave it through a few stitches up here. Before sending it through to the middle. When I say through to the middle, because this project has 2 layers, so if I weave it through on the middle, the end of the yarn is absorbed. So weaving it through the middle layer, pulling it out, and then just, well, stretching it back here. Actually, I didn't go through enough. I need to go deeper. Well, I don't really need to go deeper. I just want to go deeper. Now pull it through here. And then it can go deeper. So if I keep pulling it, that yarn gets absorbed inside the double layers. So we have our stitches here that secures the twist together. And now we just have to fold it over onto the right side so you can actually see the twist in action. How cute is that? So cute. Now we can add the tag here. The end of the tag. There we go. Now I can see it. Let's get our friend so she can try it on. Cute. Pull it down for an ear warmer, wear it up higher for more of a headband. Her head is kind of small, so it's very much adjustable and very much flexible. Thanks for watching.